This is my best racing games tier list, ranked purely on my personal experience. Each game is placed from masterpiece down to trash, based on how exciting, smooth, and memorable the racing felt while playing. Let's get straight into the list. Tokyo Xtreme Racer really surprised me because it feels like stepping straight back into the PS2 era in the best way. I jump onto Tokyo's highways, hunt down rivals, flash my lights, and suddenly I'm locked into these tense one-on-one battles where there's no finish line, just pressure and mistakes deciding who wins. The handling is simple and arcade-focused, which makes high-speed driving feel smooth and confident, especially once I get into a rhythm slicing through traffic at night. It can feel repetitive, and the difficulty spikes and menus can be frustrating at times, but the core loop keeps dragging me back in for just one more run. I love how it stays single-player, avoids modern live service nonsense, and commits fully to its narrow highway racing idea. For me, that focus and addicting structure land Tokyo Xtreme Racer in the great tier of this list. Assetto Corsa Competizione is what I go to when I want something serious and focused, not casual fun. Everything here is built around GT3 endurance racing, and once I settle into a long stint, hit my braking points, and keep the car stable lap after lap, it becomes almost hypnotic. The handling feels heavy and precise, the weather and night racing add real pressure, and the sound of these cars is some of the best I've heard in the genre. It can be demanding, especially on controller, and performance issues on console can interrupt the rhythm at times. But when everything lines up, the experience feels authentic and deeply satisfying. Because of that long-form focus and respect for racecraft, this one earns its spot in the excellent tier. Gran Turismo 7 drops me straight into that classic GT feeling where I'm buying cars, tuning them, and slowly improving with every race. The driving feels excellent, with each car behaving differently, and once I learn how it reacts under braking and acceleration, the races become really satisfying. I like how welcoming it is, especially with the cafe system guiding me through events and rewarding me with cars instead of throwing everything at me at once. The presentation, weather, and time of day changes make tracks feel alive, and it plays great on a controller as well as a wheel. There are annoyances like rolling starts and the economy can feel restrictive, but the core driving experience is strong enough that I keep coming back. That balance of depth and approachability is why Gran Turismo 7 ends up in the excellent tier. Le Mans Ultimate is something I really wanted to like more than I actually do. The driving itself feels strong with excellent tire feedback, weight transfer that's easy to read, and force feedback that clearly tells me what the car is doing, especially on a wheel. The cars sound great and the tracks look realistic, but the performance can be uneven, with stutters, long load times, and optimization issues that break the flow. Content also feels thin for a full release, with no real single-player structure and important seasons locked behind extra purchases, which makes it feel more like a platform than a complete experience. Online racing works well if that's what you're here for, but outside of that, it feels unfinished and limited. Because of that imbalance between strong driving and missing structure, Le Mans Ultimate lands in the mediocre tier for me. Need for Speed Unbound looks bold, but actually playing it wears me down fast. The animated effects and comic-style flair catch my eye at first, yet they don't fix how shallow everything feels once the racing starts. The handling leans heavily toward drifting, grip setups feel awkward, and races often feel unfair because the AI cheats with boosts and strange respawns. I also struggle with the tone, since the story and characters constantly distract instead of motivating, and the day-night structure turns into a grind rather than tension. Online doesn't help much either, with missing features and completely separate progression that makes all the effort feel wasted. When everything is considered, the style can't cover up the problems underneath, leaving this one stuck in the trash tier. MotoGP 25 still feels like that constant dance between me and the bike, where every corner can either flow perfectly or fight back hard. Riding on track is the clear highlight, especially once I find the rhythm through practice, qualifying, and the race itself. The handling remains strong, and the new arcade option makes it easier to jump in without removing the depth for players who want full simulation. I enjoy the career mode choices, building rivalries, developing the bike, and slowly pushing my team forward over a season. At the same time, the yearly release shows its limits, with older modes missing and some strange additions that don't add much to the core experience. Even so, the quality of the racing itself earns this one a place in the great tier. EA Sports WRC brings back that classic rally feeling for me, where every stage demands focus and every mistake costs real time. The loose surface handling on gravel, dirt, and snow feels strong, and long stages turn each run into a proper test of rhythm and concentration. I like the variety of cars across different eras, and the audio does a great job selling the speed and violence of rally driving. That said, performance issues like stuttering and screen tearing can break the flow, and the career mode feels thinner than it should for a modern release. Even with those problems, the driving itself remains the main reason I keep going back. When the handling clicks and a stage comes together cleanly, that strength is enough to place this entry in the great tier. The Crew Motorfest feels like a reset for the series, shrinking the map down to a single island but trying to make every drive more focused. I like how Oahu looks at sunset, and the handling is easily the best the series has had, with cars that finally feel like they have real weight and grip. The playlist structure gives me variety, especially when it focuses on specific car cultures, even if some themes work better than others. At the same time, the world often feels empty. Progression is tangled up with constant microtransactions, and boats and planes feel sidelined compared to earlier entries. I still have plenty of fun driving around and jumping between events, but it never fully hits that open-world racing high. Taken together, the solid driving and mixed structure place this one in the good tier. Trackmania is all about chasing perfect laps and shaving tiny bits of time off every run. I spend most of my time replaying short tracks again and again, learning each jump, landing, and drift until everything finally lines up. The cars feel light and slightly out of control, which makes every clean run feel tense and exciting, especially when I'm pushing for gold medals. I also love the creativity of custom tracks, where every course feels unpredictable and sometimes completely wild. The big downside is how little the game explains itself and how much is locked behind subscriptions, which can be frustrating if you want the full experience. Still, when the driving clicks and the timer starts falling, that pure focus and skill-based racing earns this one a place in the excellent tier. Burnout Paradise is pure arcade chaos, and that's exactly why I still love driving through Paradise City. The open world gives me freedom to race, smash, stunt, or just blast down highways at ridiculous speed, and the handling feels tight and perfectly tuned for aggression. I like how events blend naturally into the city, even if checking the map and driving back to retry races can be a pain early on. Road rage is still fantastic, stunt runs reward reckless creativity, and the sense of speed is unmatched, especially when crashes turn into spectacular slow-motion wrecks. Not everything about the open-world shift works, but the core driving, speed, and destruction are so strong that it easily stands out as a great tier arcade racer. Wreckfest 2 is all about heavy hits, bent metal, and fighting the car just as much as the rivals around me. The driving feels fantastic, with real weight behind every slide, smash, and bad decision, and the damage system makes every mistake visible and personal. Tracks like the Scrapyard are packed with destructible objects, and crashing through piles of wrecks never gets old. The sound design is strong too, with engines growling and breaking down in a way that adds to the chaos. That said, it's clearly early access, with very limited content and some technical crashes that stop the fun short. Even so, the core handling and destruction already shine, and that raw, physical racing feel is strong enough to put this one in the great tier. F125 feels fresher than the last few entries, mainly because the reworked My Team mode finally changes how I play season to season. Managing two drivers, handling budgets, and deciding who gets upgrades first adds real tension off the track, while the racing itself still feels sharp and demanding. The AI races hard but fair, the lighting and presentation look excellent, and wheel-to-wheel battles feel believable most of the time. I also like having the story mode back, even if it doesn't surprise much, and the core handling remains strong on both wheel and controller. There are still familiar frustrations, like recycled elements and side modes that don't matter much, but the overall package feels more confident and complete than last year. Because of that stronger balance between racing and management, this one lands in the great tier. Forza Motorsport feels great the moment I hit the track, especially with how much better the car's grip and slide compared to older entries. The handling gives me confidence to push hard without the car suddenly snapping away, and racing wheel-to-wheel against the AI or online players is genuinely tense and satisfying. Multiplayer is a big highlight, with structured race weekends and mostly clean competition that keeps me coming back. I also like how accessible it is on a controller, even while aiming for a more realistic driving feel. That said, the new car upgrade system slows everything down and makes experimenting with builds more frustrating than it should be, and some missing features still sting. Even with those issues, the driving and racing quality hold it together, which is why this one settles into the good tier. Forza Horizon 5 feels like the point where open-world racing fully comes together. Driving across Mexico never gets dull because every area looks and feels different, from dusty deserts to dense jungles and mountain roads that beg for speed. The handling strikes a perfect balance, letting me mess around casually or really push a car without it feeling awkward or fake. I love how the game constantly gives me new events, challenges, and custom races without forcing any single path, so I always feel free to play my way. The car list is huge, the sound and visuals are outstanding, and even small details like weather and dust add to the experience. When everything is taken as a whole, this is open-world racing operating at its highest level, earning a clear spot in the masterpiece tier. Project Cars 2 feels like a massive step up the moment I start driving. The handling is strong on both wheel and controller, with grip that fades naturally instead of snapping away, which makes pushing the car feel rewarding rather than stressful. The track list is huge, and every circuit comes alive with dynamic weather, time of day, and even seasonal changes that can completely alter a race. I love how deep the single-player content is, letting me jump between disciplines or create wild custom races with changing conditions. Add in excellent sound design and a solid car lineup, and it delivers serious racing depth without locking content behind subscriptions. Because of that balance between realism, variety, and freedom, this one earns a spot in the excellent tier. rFactor 2 is one of those sims where I can feel every mistake and every small win through the wheel. The tire model is the real star here, with flat spots, uneven wear, changing grip, and weather that actually affects different parts of the track during a race. When I push too hard, the car lets me know immediately, and when I get things right, the reward feels earned. The physics are deep, the force feedback is detailed, and no two laps ever feel exactly the same. It's rough around the edges with weak presentation and a thin base content lineup, but the driving experience more than makes up for it. Because of that pure focus on realism and feel, this one easily earns its place in the excellent tier. Dirt Rally 2.0 is pure rally at its most demanding and rewarding. Every stage asks for full focus because one small mistake can end a run, and that tension never fades. The handling on gravel, tarmac, and wet surfaces feels raw and physical, with cars reacting clearly to weight transfer, throttle control, and tire wear. I love how the handcrafted stages feel distinct across countries, and how road degradation and weather slowly change how each run plays out. It doesn't hold your hand, but learning through failure is part of the thrill, especially with a wheel. When everything clicks and a clean stage comes together, the payoff feels unmatched. That complete, no-compromise rally experience places this firmly at the very top of the list, a true masterpiece tier entry. iRacing is the closest I've ever felt to real competitive motorsport from a sim. Every race feels serious because safety ratings, licenses, and real consequences force clean driving and full focus. Learning tracks alone, lap after lap, makes progress slow but incredibly rewarding, and racing other humans instead of AI completely changes the pressure. The laser-scanned circuits and precise physics make even small mistakes obvious, especially at speed, and a wheel isn't optional here if you want control. Yes, it's expensive and demanding, but the quality of racing and discipline it creates are unmatched. Because nothing else delivers this level of realism and competitive integrity, it earns its place right at the very top as a masterpiece tier experience. Burnout 3, Takedown is pure chaos done right, and even today nothing else feels quite like it. Every race is about speed, risk, and smashing rivals into walls to earn boost, and that loop never gets old. The sense of speed is insane, crashes are spectacular, and the takedown system turns aggression into smart strategy instead of mindless crashing. Modes like Road Rage and Crash stay fun for hours, and the controls are tight enough that it always feels fair, even at ridiculous speeds. Because of how perfectly everything comes together, this one sits right at the top as a masterpiece tier classic. Split Second starts with pure chaos the moment I hit the throttle. I'm not just racing cars here, I'm drifting to build power, triggering explosions, and watching the track collapse around everyone. Planes crash, bridges fall, and shortcuts open right in front of me, so timing matters as much as speed. The handling is very arcade-focused, walls are meant to be used, and one bad mistake can ruin a whole race since there's no rewind to save you. The AI can be harsh, but learning when and where to trigger destruction keeps every race intense. This lands in the great tier thanks to its wild spectacle and non-stop adrenaline, even if frustration sneaks in now and then. Midnight Club, Los Angeles throws me straight into high-speed street racing where knowing the city matters more than perfect racing lines. I'm flying across highways, back streets, and hidden shortcuts, constantly reacting through the GPS while traffic and cops keep the tension high. The driving feels loose and aggressive, so drifting, boosting, and risky decisions are part of every race. Customizing cars keeps the grind engaging, and online races turn the city into pure chaos. All of that earns it a masterpiece tier spot, driven by its freedom, speed, and unforgettable street racing feel. Mario Kart 8 Deluxe starts fast and stays fun no matter how many times I play it. I can jump straight into races with all tracks and characters unlocked, and every course feels bright, creative, and easy to read. Drifting, item timing, and track knowledge still matter even though anyone can pick it up and play. Local multiplayer is always a blast, and battle mode adds chaotic, laugh-out-loud moments that never get old. Because it works for casual play, competitive races, and pure fun with friends, this clearly belongs in the masterpiece tier. WipEout Omega Collection hits me with pure speed and style from the first race, mixing anti-gravity racing with intense combat and razor-sharp controls. I'm constantly balancing boosts, tight cornering, and weapon choices while racing at insane speeds that demand full focus. The ships all feel consistent, but the tracks and speed classes change the pressure in smart ways as things get faster and more aggressive. Visually, it's stunning. The soundtrack fits the futuristic vibe perfectly, and every race feels high stakes. Because of its polish, challenge, and sheer intensity, this earns a spot in the excellent tier. Ride 4 started with high hopes for me, but those faded pretty fast once I spent real time with it. The handling itself feels solid, and the bikes have proper weight, especially in endurance races where tires and fuel actually matter. But everything around that core is frustrating. The AI regularly crashes into me like I don't exist. The penalty system punishes tiny mistakes or things that aren't my fault, and progression often feels more annoying than rewarding. Even though it looks good and runs smoothly, the constant interruptions and unfair moments kill the flow. Because of those issues, this lands in the trash tier. Art of Rally pulls me into rally racing in a very different way, and I love that about it. I'm racing from a top-down view with clean visuals, calm music, and simple controls, but there's still real challenge in every corner. Learning how cars slide on gravel, snow, and asphalt takes time, and small mistakes really matter. There's no noise, no clutter, just pure focus on lines, momentum, and control. It feels thoughtful, stylish, and rewarding without trying to impress with realism alone. That balance earns it a clear place in the great tier.